Hi, I'm Mike Schofield.
And I'm David Weber.
We're both with Dynon. David is a longtime Dynonian. You've been with us since 2010.
That's correct.
You are an A&P mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
You just earned your IA. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Dave manages our Dynon certified research and development facility. And you are also an avid home builder. This is the second airplane you've built.
Correct.
The first one was a Sonex that you built from plans.
Correct.
And you did it back in...
I started it in 2007.
Awesome. And then this airplane, an RV7, you started, I think, in 2015.
Correct.
It's recently flying. It's beautiful. And today we're going to talk a bit about the airplane, and in particular, of course, the avionics, why you chose Dynon.
I did.
And some of the choices you made along the way while you were constructing your green panel.
Let's get started.
All right. So first off, your first aircraft was a Sonex, a small, sporty aircraft. This time around, you went with an RV7. How'd you make that choice?
Well, I really wanted an airplane to fit my mission of something that had a long cruise, something about 5 hours of cruise. I wanted more speed, and I wanted something that I could put some camping gear in the back and head out for those weekend camping trips. And to sort of dovetail into that mission profile, I wanted something that could do some basic aerobatics, some loops, rolls. And the RV7, that was the kit at the time, the best one on the market that fulfilled all those mission requirements.
So Dave, you and I are pretty good friends, but I learned something about you as you were showing me around your airplane at Oshkosh. This airplane has a theme. Tell me about it.
Well, as a teenager growing up in the 80s, that's when your music tastes are most influenced, and one of the bands that had the biggest influence in me was Van Halen. So this paint scheme is sort of an homage to not only Van Halen, but to Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen passed away in 2020, and that's when I was getting very serious about painting the airplane. So I was looking for a short end number, and hey, 84 VH was available. That really sort of sealed the deal. 84 was my favorite album. It was the year I graduated high school. So 84 Victor Hotel is what the end number became. I then moved on to, hey, how could I sort of accent that? Well, the Sonex that I built was Little Dreamer 1. And so this airplane has now been named Little Dreamer 2. Absolutely perfect song, fits well with aviation theme. And then of course, one of the favorite lyrics in one of my Van Halen songs is "You'll lose her in the turn." Absolutely perfect place to put that is on the aileron. Why not, right? But if you come around the corner here, you'll see that the paint scheme is something that Eddie Van Halen was known for on all of his guitars. A good friend of mine, Brandon Knowles, was the official painter on the paint scheme. Brandon is an absolute artist behind the paint gun. He's got several cars that he has had in the SEMA show down in Vegas. So of course I would tap him to do this. The pinstriping was done by another good friend of mine by the name of Dave Austin. And Dave did all the pinstriping, including the "You'll lose her in the turn." But the best thing that Dave did was right here on the spinner. We were sitting around trying to figure out how we could sort of accent the Van Halen theme a little bit more. David placed the Van Halen logo up on the cowling, and that gave me the idea of, hey, let's wrap it around the spinner. So Dave was throwing all these ideas at me, and I stood back and I said, Dave, this one's yours. I want to come back in 8 hours and just see what you did. And this is what he gave me. Absolutely beautiful. Fits the plane perfectly. I'm really happy with how it turned out.
That looks fantastic. And it fits you well now knowing how much of a Van Halen fan you are. RVs are known for their total performance, and I'm sure you wanted to go fast. What did you choose for your power plant and prop?
Well, I went with the Lycoming IO360 A1V6, which is an angle valve, 200 horsepower engine. The engine is not brand new, but it's got a lot of hours left in it. I'm really happy with it. We just got done flying out to Oshkosh and back from our Seattle base, and I had no issues whatsoever. Even with ground temperatures up in the 90s, things ran really cool and smooth. And then to put that horsepower into speed, I went with the blended airfoil Hartzell, the 74-inch prop, and I've been really happy with it. Things just run great, and the performance has been absolutely outstanding.
I see here that you chose to go with a slider canopy. How'd you make that choice?
Well, it wasn't an easy decision, Mike. What really sold me on the decision of going with the slider was the Super Tracks sold by Flyboys. That gives you about 8 to 10 inches more of sliding back on the canopy, which gives you incredible access into the baggage area. I can fit everything in there that I need to go camping, and for those occasional times that I got to fly out and help somebody on an airplane, I can actually fit my big toolbox in the back. Just did that the last weekend, so it's an absolutely wonderful thing to do, and that's really what sold me on it, was the ability to pack more baggage in there.
So really great panel here. Why'd you choose Dynon?
Well, Dynon's the best, and as part of an engineer on the team that designed the HDX system, we put a lot of thought into the ergonomics and the comforts of the pilot during that flight. And as I said, Dynon's just great about that kind of layout and design.
And speaking of layout, how did you decide to lay out your panel? What were some of the considerations there?
Well, the consideration with the layout of the panel was the ability to fly from both sides. I give a lot of Young Eagles rides, so the ability to do that flight from either the left or the right seat was something that was really important to me. The ergonomics of the layout, the ability to keep my hand on the stick while flying, so that the flight hand is always on the stick. The other hand is pushing buttons. And of course, the AFS button module here really helps lay that out. I can hit flaps, my landing lights, everything, all while keeping my left hand on the stick during that flight. The ability to do that from the right-hand seat is also part of that layout. The ability to keep the hand on one stick and push buttons with the other hand was absolutely huge. And of course, the Dynon allows that with the configurable screens, being able to fly from left or right.
And it looks like some of the other modules you've centralized, presumably for that same reason, things like the knob module.
You got that right, Mike. Yeah, here's all the knob modules, the radio module and the autopilot module. Again, centered so that either seat can reach those components. Even if I am flying as pilot in command on the left-hand side and I've got a co-pilot sitting over here, the ability for that co-pilot to ease the load of the pilot by having the ability to tune radio frequencies and adjust barrows is just a huge, huge relax to the pilot in command, especially in an IFR flight situation where that load level goes up if you're flying through a heavy IFR situation.
You just mentioned IFR. Tell me about how you equip the panel, number of screens, redundancy, those sorts of things, and how it relates to your current flying mission, your ratings, and your future plans.
That's a great point, Mike, which is the fact that having two screens gives you the real estate that you really need for IFR flight, and the ability for the Dynon screens to swap that information or bring that information up, give you that more real estate in a heavy load IFR situation. The other ability that Dynon gives is the ability to grow. As a pilot who is currently just a single pilot rating, I want, and it's on a short list to get my IFR rating, I want that aircraft to be able to grow with me as I get those ratings and increase my skill level as it goes through.
So you chose, it looks like, the Avidyne IFD. How'd you arrive there?
The integration with SkyView and the Avidyne is just seamless. It literally took me a few minutes to configure the Avidyne and the Dynon, and they were talking seamlessly after that. The ability to display the Avidyne on the the Dynon screen is absolutely wonderful, and I'm learning more and more, obviously, as I fly the airplane, as to how well those two components integrate.
So one thing I've seen with pilots and builders that are in your shoes, where you have a VFR rating but are thinking of doing an IFR rating down the road, is equipping similar to what you have here, but perhaps with one screen with options to expand down the road. How might one do that?
Well, as I say in my presentation at Oshkosh, Planning 101, I really encourage people to start off simple and basic, get the airplane flying, and then expand from there, which is what Dynon does well. Maybe go ahead and wire up for that second screen, but just put a blank in here. Cut the hole, get all your hardware in there, but go ahead and put a blank in there. And then later on, buy yourself that birthday gift or the Christmas gift and put that second screen in. Along with your navigator, this is probably one of the most expensive parts of this panel, is that navigator. So you don't need it all the first day the airplane flies. If you're flying IFR on your first flight, you're doing something wrong. So think about expanding it as you go along. And again, that ability to watch the budget as you're building your airplane panel, it's a significant part of that thought process.
So another thing I'm noticing, and that viewers might notice, is the unique switchgear that you have underneath the IFR navigator. Tell us about those and what's special about them.
Well, this is really part of our advanced flight systems panel system. They're really great switches. The nice thing about the switches is that it's all low voltage, so everything behind there is a low voltage switch that simply plugs into the ACM, and I'll get to showing you the ACM here in a minute. Everything from the master switch here to flaps and any other switches that deal with strobe or landing lights. Complete integrated system with the advanced panel, and boy oh boy do I like those switches.
And you said a magic word, that a product called Advanced Panel. Did you have Advanced build you this panel?
I did a little bit of a hybrid there, which we were exploring what we wanted to be able to do, and a little bit more of a builder assist. So Advanced sent me the harnesses and the switches, and I ended up wiring everything in using the absolutely incredible installation manual that Advanced has. As a matter of fact, that installation manual even laid out where I should put all the components in the RV7 behind the panel. Made it really simple.
And so, kind of piggybacking on that, what you can do when you call up Advanced Flight Systems, which is our sister company down in Canby, Oregon, is you can say, hey, I want an Advanced Panel. And an Advanced Panel can be essentially the panel shipped in a box with everything pre-mounted, pre-configured. These switches, low voltage switches, all connected to the advanced control module, which we'll show you in a bit. You can also do what Dave did, which is what we sometimes call a panel-less advanced panel, where all of that configuration, both the system components, the switches, and even the harnesses are customized for your exact airplane. But if you're like Dave, whose plans built an airplane, or somebody that wants to do the mechanical stuff yourself and are perfectly comfortable cutting metal, that's another option for you too.
Yep, and it worked great.
All right, so we've now taken about 2 minutes to remove a display, super simple with just 4 screws with SkyView HDX. And what we're looking at now is the Advanced Control Module, or ACM for short. And that's part of the advanced panel system, although as we mentioned, you could buy that with the entire panel put together for you, or just the equipment and harnesses. And so what the ACM is the first and only comprehensive power and distribution center for your aircraft's electrical, avionics, headsets, aircraft lights, autopilot servos, trim servos, flat motor, control sticks, and those low voltage panel switches we were talking about. All of the harnesses are customized so that when you're in here as a builder, things are super simple, and it really makes for no mistakes wiring, upgradability for the future, and it's just an awesome addition to any aircraft, especially where the builder is looking to save time in their avionics installation. So David, from your perspective as a builder, how did this, make installing your panel simpler?
Well, I would say the most important thing, Mike, is the fact that the harnesses were done and I knew that they were going to work. So Advanced was able to supply me with all of the harnesses pre-built. I simply had to wire them, secure them, and turn things on. Made that very inevitable first power on switch much less anxiety, shall we say. But again, the ability that all I had to do was plug things in made it a very simple installation. It's almost like you feel you're cheating slightly.
One thing I'm noticing that's missing from your panel are fuses or circuit breakers. Where are they?
There are none. There are very few fuses throughout the entire system. There's a few that are in line for some of the engine systems up front, but for everything else, all of that is controlled through the ACM control on the SkyView system.
And so one of the features of the advanced control module is a bank of configurable solid-state electronic circuit breakers. If you've built your harnesses smartly, like Dave here has, you have enough service loops so that you can remove and reinstall your displays quickly. And then it's just 4 screws to reattach a SkyView display. So SkyView HDX has a really powerful display layout system, and people fly the system a little bit differently just based on their personal preferences. How do you fly?
Well, typically when I start up, this is the screen as I get it, and everything turns on. But before I start the engine, what I'll do is I'll go in here and I'll bring up my engine in a nice big bold 50% page so that I've got all that engine information I need big and bold when I do my engine startup. And I'll keep this up here all the way through my engine run up, pre-flight checklist, all that. But when I get ready to take off, at that point, I go back and bring up the map so that I can keep an eye on traffic. Now, when I configure into a cruise flight, if I'm going someplace else, I'll come over here to my second screen and I will bring that second screen up to a full map. And the reason for that is just gives me that traffic and all the information I need going for a little bit further cruise. And it also, sort of a side note, is typically my passenger likes to see where we're going in that respect. So that gives them a little bit more entertainment in flight, shall we say.
And then you also mentioned earlier that you fly a lot of young eagles. How does that change the way you set the aircraft up when you're flying a youngster?
Well, most young eagles don't care so much about the engine information. So, and I often will let them sit in the left-hand seat and I'll fly from the right-hand seat. Doesn't bother me, I switch back and forth. That's, again, a nice feature that the Dynon will give you. But I'll get rid of the engine information here, give them that, and then I'll come over to the second screen and I will bring up my engine information on my primary flight display and bring up the engine information on the bottom. Now, a simpler way I could do that is by simply hitting the swap button also.
Thanks for watching this video of David Weber and his Dynon-equipped RV7. This is the first video of this type, and we're interested if you'd like to see more. Let us know in the video comments. And if you have an aircraft and panel that you're proud of, send us a note at mypanel@dynon.com to possibly be featured in a future episode.